You ever notice that addiction doesn't always look like addiction? It don't always look like drugs or alcohol or somebody losing everything overnight, right? Sometimes it looks normal, everyday, acceptable. Things like scrolling, snacking, checking, betting, watching, refreshing your screen. Addiction at its core is never just about one thing. It's always a pattern. The pull, the anticipation, let me just one more time, one more time. You ever sit there scrolling or just watching a game or maybe placing a bet on one of those bet apps, right? And you feel like something is just, it just keeps pulling you back in. Like you almost had it, like you was almost there, right? So you try again, you run it again. That feeling right there, that is the trap. It's called variable reward, okay? Now all that means is just you don't win every time and you don't know when you will win. And that maybe is what'll get you hooked. They tested this with mice a long time ago. They gave mice food every time they like pressed the button, right? But when they would randomly press the button, right, they would start going crazy, like hitting the button because they never know when the next reward is going to come, right? Now look at gambling, slot machines, roulette, sports betting, right? It's the same setup. You lose, and then, one time you go in there and it's like, damn, you hit right off the bat, right? Small win, or you'll almost get a hit, right? And then your brain goes, nah, run that back. Like, I gotta try that one more time. Now you're locked in, right? And that's why people say games feel rigged nowadays. You know what I mean? Sometimes they are. We've seen the referees, like, there was a referee a while back, I think his name was Tim Donahue or something like that, where he was cheating on games. We've seen players cheating on games, on the outcomes of the games, on betting on them, right? So yeah, but even without that, the system already got what it needed. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really have to teach you. You know what I mean? You'll stay on your own because that almost, right? Now take that same thing, right? And look at your phone, right? You're scrolling, you got nothing, then you finally hit something, right? That, sparks your attention. Dopamine, right? Now you're chasing. Same thing whenever you check your notifications, right? Same thing when you post. You don't know when it's going to hit, so you just keep checking, right? I know everybody notices this on these shopping apps, right? You open them up, they got you spinning wheels, scratching the cards, right? And things like Temu, right? They telling you got extra bonus chances and bonus rewards, right? Feel like you just hit something. Feel like you got, you're doing something right, right? Whole time, they just got you leaning in. Next thing you know, you buying something, right? And it's not because you needed it, it's because you felt like you was winning, right? It's the same hook in a different wrapper, family. That's all it is. Take this even deeper, right? Because before the phone, before the apps, before all the gambling, it usually starts with our food. That's the first addiction that people ever build. And nobody ever calls it out, right? But think about it. If you can control what you put in your mouth, you can control almost anything because that's the discipline at the most basic level, right? And most people, they don't have that because they've been trained really early because the food industry don't make just food, family. They engineer behavior. They study your brain. They study your cravings, your patterns, and they build products around that. There's a whole concept, it's called a bliss point, right? That perfect mix of sugar, fat, and salt is designed to hit your brain just right, just to hit that sweet spot, right? It keeps you coming back over and over again. And companies don't just guess their way into this, man. There are some agencies out there that exist to shape our behavior. One of them is called Ketchum, right? Look that up. They exist to build desire, to keep these brands stuck in your head. That's their whole strategy. Food hits your chemistry, dopamine reinforces the behavior, and addiction, it locks the loop, so it keeps you stuck in addiction, right? So when you say, I can't stop eating this, that ain't just you, family. That is how it was designed. And it goes much deeper because some of the same companies that mastered addiction with cigarettes and drugs and all that stuff, they moved into food. They ran the exact same playbook, same science, same psychology, everything. So now you got people fighting food cravings the same way that others fight substance abuse. You know what I mean? And then they're wondering why it's so hard. It is the hardest addiction because it's accepted everywhere. And when you look at the whole picture, you start seeing what it's like to be stimulated from the inside and the outside. Food hitting your chemistry, apps hitting your dopamine, games hitting your reward center, all at the same time. So of course, it's going to be hard to break. You're surrounding yourself with triggers. And then when you bring it in the full circle, like sports, NFL, boxing, all these major events, people watching, people are betting. They're putting their money down on every play, right? You don't think that changes the energy, family? Even if nobody fixing the whole game, all it takes is just a small little influence, one call, one moment, one decision at the right time. Because now there's money attached to outcomes, right? That shifts behavior. You don't even need all that because the real grip ain't the game. It's what the game does to you. The loop in your head, that voice that say, run it again, put that money down, check it again. He's about to do something crazy. One more time, one more scroll. That's the button. And people just be pressing it all day long. Dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. Not even realizing that you're trained to do it. So now ask yourself, how many buttons you pressed today? And then how many of them was your choice? You chose to press the button because that's where you take your power back. Because if the pattern trained you, you can untrain it. But it don't start with willpower. It starts with awareness. And once you're aware of it, then you can interrupt the process. You can break the loop while it's happening in real time. So next time you feel that pull, family, don't press it. Just sit in it for a second. Feel how uncomfortable that it is. That's called withdrawal, right? And it's not from a substance, it's from the stimulation. That's your nervous system finally not getting fed on demand. And that's where the change starts to happen. That's where the reset, that's where the breaking addiction starts to happen. Because right now, most people don't have control. They're out of control. Their dopamine is being triggered on somebody else's schedule. It's hijacked. Notifications, algorithm, ads, games, all external. So the first step is we have to slow everything down. Create space in between the impulse that you're feeling and the action that follows after that. You have to just be cool to sit with it and just be like, man, I see what's happening, but I'm not going to respond, right? Don't check your messages right away. Don't pick up your phone right away when somebody calls you, right? So then we have to get back to the real signals that we should be receiving. Sunlight, movement, real food, real conversations, real silence. Things that don't spike you, then crash you, right? This is more about balance. Things that actually regulate you. Because your hormones and your nervous system, they're not malfunctioning. They've just been overstimulated for so long. And anything overstimulated, it loses sensitivity over time. That's why nothing hits the same anymore, right? So you keep going harder, scrolling longer, betting more money, checking more, trying to feel anything, just feel something. But the answer sometimes is not more, family. It's less. Less noise, less input, less random reward, less comfort foods, right? More intention. Because once you break that loop, you realize you was never chasing the win. You was just chasing the feeling of the win. And then once you control that, the game loses control of you, right? Then you got the upper hand. Hopefully this helps. Peace.